So in the last episode, we finally got all our routing and signing in and out complete, and we're almost ready to move on to actually listing users and posts and being able to build out this blogging platform. Before we do that, there's one more bit of refactoring I'd like to do to our route and signing out logic. So if you remember, the way we implemented sign out was by sending the user /sign out, listening for that in on URL request, and if it is /sign out, we send the sign user out message. Something that didn't feel quite right to me when I revisited this code was that we're using an actual string to represent the URL here, /sign out. But in an earlier video, we'd created an idea of a route type that was either a sign in or a not found. So really, we should be treating the sign out as if it's a route and modeling it as a type. So I'm going to create a new file relative to the current view, and we'll call it root. Actually, I'll call it routing.elm. I think that's a better name. So we say module routing, and we'll leave exposing as ... And the first thing I'm going to do is actually come into here and grab things out. So I'm going to take the route type from main and actually put it in routing.elm. I don't think it should live in our types.elm file. I think it's such a specific type that we should go here, and we will expose it. So we can remove that type here, and let's say import routing, and I will expose the type, so we'll say root. And let's just make sure we save that file. So the next thing I want to move out is this route parser. The routing module should really be able to hide behind the scenes how we actually take URL and convert it into one of these route types. So let's grab the route parser out and pull it into here. And we need to do some imports as well. So let's grab the URL parser, which we're going to need there. And I think that's all we need. Yeah, not seeing any errors there. So this main code is going to break because this parser.parse call isn't going to work because we've pulled this route parser here out into a module. But I actually want the routing module to know how to do this parsed URL. So I'm going to copy this line and pull it in here, and we're going to define a function for passing this URL. So we'll say parse URL to route. And what it's going to do is it's going to take the string, the URL, which is a string, and it will return a route. So we'll say parse URL to route URL equals. Let's just fix the indentation there. Save that up. Okay, and then I think we've got everything we need. We've got parser.parse, we've got the route parser. Again, error here on URL. This URL value is a string, but passing the second line would be an actual URL. And I think that's actually me just messing up my types. So this is going to have to become a URL. I think that will keep that safe. We cannot find a URL type, so we need to import that as well. So let's go into here and find the URL type, and we'll copy this import over. And we'll hit save. Okay. So we're struggling because we can't find some of these. This parsed URL now, we're not going to call this function. We're going to call routing.parse URL to route. And we're going to pass in the URL. So we get an error that this function is being found. That's because we're not exposing it. So we're going to expose route, and we're going to expose parse URL to route as well. Note that I'm not exposing this route parser function. That's an implementation internal detail that we don't need to worry about. So let's now look at how we can extend this and use this to match our /sign out route. So when we get a URL request and it's an internal one, this URL is an object that we can pass to that new created parse URL to route function. So rather than saying case URL.path of sign out, what I actually want to say is case routing.parse URL to route URL of, and if this is sign out, then I want to sign the user out. If it's anything else, we're going to do nothing. So that's going to get an error that sign out isn't defined. So now we can go and define that as an actual route. So go into here, you can sign in with a string or you can sign out. And I'm going to do lowercase o to match how I did sign in. And there's no additional arguments there, you're just signing out as normal. And now what we need to do is actually make the parser able to produce those. So we'll go into here and we'll say parser.map sign out. And the actual parser here is really straightforward. We're just looking for URL sign out with no additional arguments, nothing else. So if the URL is sign out, we'll take them to the sign out route. And we can see I've certainly not got it working. There's a few errors that we can't find the sign out constructor in main.elm or the sign in constructor. The reason for that is although in main I'm importing the route type, by default this doesn't give me access to the constructors. I need to do ... to get all the constructors of the route type. So our functionality is still working. I've just signed in. I can still hit sign out to be taken to the index page and be signed out. The reason that I was so keen to do this work to produce a sign out type rather than a string is because it makes the developer experience much more reliable and quicker if you make a mistake. So when we had it as the string sign out like this, it would be very easy for you to make a typo. Maybe you forget a character or you type something the wrong way around. It's very easy to typo this, and compiler isn't going to be able to tell you because you're just matching against a string. But here, if I accidentally typo sign out here, I immediately get a compiler error stopping me from doing that, and it even tells me that I probably mean sign out. So if you find yourself pattern matching a lot on strings, you should consider if actually a type is what you want there. Doing the extra work to convert a thing into a type will lead you a much better developer experience. It means you can't forget to deal with certain types, and it means any typos or mistakes will be caught by the compiler rather than you having to debug your way through the application in the browser.